Welcome to Autry Cellars. I'm Steve Autry, owner, winemaker, plumber, janitor, bookkeeper, and the only licensed brandy distiller in Edna Valley. It's peaceful, and then a jet, and then it's peaceful, and
Yeah.
a train, and then a bunny rabbit, and, it's just kind of that way, on and off. We're doing in the neighborhood of 500 to 700. Very small quantity with as many as 15 varietals, so it's very small lots. And we're usually in the 25 to 75 case per lot territory. 25 cases, that's a wine club exclusive. I've got one bottle for each customer. I may not get a bottle. That's happened a few times. 25 to 50 cases that are left for the general public, that's really too small to do any distribution with. So we're not in local markets. We're not in local restaurants. If you don't get it here, you don't get it. And the best way to get it is in my wine club at a 20% discount. On the white side of the fence, we're doing Viognier, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Albarino, and this year Gruner Veltliner, which is, you can probably see in the background, a little house with 2 palm trees. It's the vineyard right in front of it. On the red side of the fence, we are doing Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Malbec, Syrah, Petite Syrah, Pinot Noir, Primitivo. We do only 2 blends. Everything, for the most part, is standalone varieties, single vineyard. I choose a musical term because I'm a professional musician, a bass player, which explains the bass clef as our logo. You can see it on the hat.
Right.
And for our Bordeaux blend, we call that one tertian harmony. Tertian meaning 3. Tertian harmony is a reference to the interval or the spacing between notes called thirds, and it's the relationship of thirds in music that build all the chords and harmonies that we typically hear in music. Tertian harmony, the wine, is 3 grapes, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, 40, 40, 20%, and they do harmonize quite nicely. The other one is a rosé. When I do it, doesn't happen every year, we take about 15, 20 gallons, same amount, from each of our red wines that we're making that year. And we ferment them separately, and we put them all together. So every red wine in the house is going crazy in the bottle at the same time. Now for that one, we go back to New Orleans jazz, which predates Dixieland by about 20 years. Dixieland's a revisitation of the style with instrumental changes. So the drums now have cymbals, and the tuba became an upright bass, and saxophone enters the game at this point.
Oh, nice.
We have a new arrival here. This is our orange muscat.
There he is.
That's his name, Muscat. So instead of individual solos, here's one of our small planes.
Yeah, I'm picking him up. I don't see him.
Yeah. Right overhead.
There he goes.
Yeah.
That adds a little color here today.
So instead of individuals each taking a solo, everybody goes crazy all at the same time, and that style is called group improvisation. With the rosé, we have every red wine in the house going crazy in the bottle at the same time. The name of the wine is group improv, and like a solo, it's going to be different every time. My first interest in fermentation science was in high school, where I had a friend of mine whose dad was from Czechoslovakia, and he made his own beer. Now, at the time, it was still illegal. Home beer making was not signed into law until, I think, 1978 by Jimmy Carter. When they repealed prohibition, they left out 2 words in allowing home winemaking. They left out "and beer." And so it was technically illegal all that time. But one of his chores at home was to help make the old man's beer for him. So I'd go over and help him make the beer. And it was wretched. It was terrible, but it got the job done. And I always thought, we got to be able to do better than this. So I had an interest in it. And in 1999, I found myself in a situation where I had an opportunity to start dabbling in home beer and winemaking. Wanted to make wine. Figured if I could just make something as good as Carlo Rossi Jug, I'd be happy. So apparently I'm ecstatic at this point. But I started with beer because it's a much faster turnaround on the fermentation, 30 days or so,
Sure.
versus a couple of years.
Yeah.
And so you get much better cause and effect relationship that way. They saw I was kind of passionate about what I was doing, and at the beer and winemaking supply store where I got my stuff from, and asked if I'd like to work there part-time, keep the shop open Monday evening, in addition to my regular job. So I started doing that, and then a little thing called 9/11 came along. The economy tanked, and I got to be the guy that was laid off of my regular job, and 10 minutes later I was full-time at the store. So I wound up working there with 1,500 clients, making beers and wines and sake and little distillation and that kind of thing. And wound up working there 8 years, managed the shop the last 3 years I was there. And during that last year, I opened the winery a half a block away and ran back and forth for a year. And then in 2011, we opened up this location here. This is just a rental. Wish I owned it, but I don't. You know, I was kind of following my passions on a hobby level, and one thing after another just kind of went away. And, you know, one day I looked around and I'm making wine and playing music for a living.
Yeah, not bad.
You know, thank you. What it does here, the valley is kind of northwest, southeast lined up that way. So it's exactly in line with the prevailing breeze coming off of the ocean. And so it tends to sweep the excessive heat out. When you get on the other side of these mountains over here, you're going to be 20 degrees hotter, maybe more. And so it's a very different climate. This is cool, coastal. It really favors keeping the acids up and long hang time, which really develops flavors and aromas. I'm all about hang time.
Sure.
Even with all the grapes that I get, we do source all of our grapes. My estate vineyard is the 6 vines at the edge of the deck. That concludes my vineyard tour. There's a ripeness continuum of 2 to 3 weeks that you could pick over, and I tend to go for the far end of it. And so, maybe 75-80% of the way there before they're just getting too pruny and raisiny. But that's really where the flavors are. It's like vine-ripe tomatoes, tree-ripened fruit. Sure. And so the perfect chemistry for winemaking may have passed by the time that we pick, but I can adjust chemistry all day long. What I can't adjust is no flavor and aroma. So let's go capture that, give it a little tweak if we need to, dial it in, and go make some nice wine. It works out pretty well. Oh, good grief. Are you making any money at this?
Should I ask?
I've always been great at survival. I've never been very good at thriving. It just seems like we've got our nose just barely above water, and just enough to keep going. It's like we sell some wine, we put it in a little box, we put it under the bed, and the next year we pull it out and go, hey, we got enough to make wine again. You can make a reservation by phone, 805-546-8669, or online at autrycellars.com.